What's up, everybody? It's Shadow Ninja here. Welcome back to Rage Quit. This week it is going to be Halloween, my favorite holiday personally, so we're going to be celebrating it early on the channel by talking about yet another bad video game. Wow, who would have guessed, right? As you guys can probably see in the background, I am playing none other than the Friday the 13th game. I made some videos about it a couple of years ago, and unfortunately, pretty soon it is going to be shutting down. The servers are going to be taken offline, and I just wanted to mess around with the bots a little bit and do some custom games as well as some challenges for you guys as background gameplay. But this game is not going to be what we're talking about for this video particularly. The game that we are going to be talking about is none other than the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game. When this game first came out, it was a really cool concept for me. It was another asymmetrical horror game developed by Gun Media, the same people who made Friday the 13th, and I was really hoping that this game was going to knock it out of the park and be just as good, if not even better, than Friday the 13th. It had all of the asymmetrical tropes. You got to play as 4 survivors, each with their own separate ability, and you had to survive against the Sawyer family. And instead of there being one killer, like how Friday the 13th and Dead by Daylight is on the other side of the game, you got to play as 3 different killers at the same time. And they were all very faithful to the movie. They all had their own separate abilities, including, of course, Leatherface. But let me tell you guys, it was not as fun as Friday the 13th or Dead by Daylight or Predator Hunting Grounds or any of the other games that Illphonic and Gun Media have made. In fact, I thought it was pretty boring, and it was a way too complicated for what the game was trying to do. It had a bunch of different perk trees for different characters, like an RPG perk tree. Playing as Survivor and playing as Killer on both sides was very frustrating. Kind of awkward playing as Killer, where you would chase Survivors and then you would be slashing at them, chasing them, and then you would almost get them, and then they would like run through a hole in the wall, or they would go through a vent. And I know as Leatherface, you were able to destroy those obstacles so that it's a little easier for the other killers to get on the survivor's ass a little bit and chop them down, but it just felt very complicated and bloated, and there was a lot of stuff in the game that you could do. But maybe that is just a personal issue for me, considering I only put like 2 hours into the game. Maybe I didn't give it a real fair chance, but thankfully I didn't, because wow, this game's turnout was not what everybody was hoping for, especially from a franchise as iconic as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Wow. I've heard from very different sources that this game is not doing so hot. Player count wise, there's not enough content coming out, and the content that is coming out is all tied to microtransactions and DLC and stuff. And everybody's just getting bored of this game. And I think the problem really stems from Gun Media and Illphonic alike not knowing what to do with these licenses that they're given. They were given the Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Predator Hunting Grounds, Friday the 13th, and Texas Chainsaw, of course, and they don't know what to do with them. They make a base game that feels different and fresh to the asymmetrical genre, and they just don't know how to keep adding content and keep the game alive. It's like they make a base game that in theory, it's great and it would be fun to play, but I mean, everybody's going to get bored of a game eventually. You need to keep adding stuff and keep adding modes and characters and stuff that's not tied down to a price tag. You need to make it accessible for players to keep coming back to the game and keep checking in, kind of like what Helldivers does. Every single time I check into Helldivers, there's always something new. There's always a new war bond and stuff, and new weapons and new outfits and stuff that you could get completely for free. Or if you don't want to grind for the stuff in the game, you could buy it. You could buy the microtransactions, but that should be the option for the player, not a mandatory thing. Another thing, too, that I've noticed about Gun Media and Illphonic alike is they do not know how to communicate with the player base. They keep players hanging on a thread for months at a time. They just go off the air and don't bring any updates to the game. In Predator Hunting Grounds case, that was the case for like a couple of months until I eventually just decided to delete the game, and my friends did too. And then all of a sudden they came out with a new patch bringing us new characters and stuff without like any announcement, and that's kind of what they do with Texas Chainsaw. I know they released a new mode and they just did like a dev stream, you know, basically kind of covering what's going to be in the game and new updates and that sort of thing. A lot of things that players are asking for, they're not implementing into the game. I know a lot of players are asking for an increase in level cap, more maps, new characters, that sort of thing, and it feels like the devs are kind of reluctant to add those sort of things because it's, I mean, obviously it's a lot of work, and I don't know if they want to just like release these games, give us content for a couple of months, and then move on to the next game. I think players have really adjusted to this live service approach to video games where games come out and then they stay alive for years and years and years. I don't think that's the devs' plan for this game. I feel like they just kind of release a game and move on to the next. I mean, who knows? Maybe there is a Halloween game in development right now. But I know for the people who actually really do enjoy this game, it is a huge bummer. The lack of content coming out, and now I know that the game is severely unbalanced. It's very survivor-sided. Obviously, I'm not a developer. I don't know the first thing about making a video game, and maybe it is a lot harder for the devs to do a cleanup on this game and fix all the stuff that's wrong with it and appease all the players. But I mean, when there are obvious problems within a game structure and players are telling you about it, and it doesn't even take you, it takes you months and months and months to even come up with a dev stream and address these problems, it gets a little draining. It makes people not want to play anymore. It makes people want to move on to other things. And I really feel like Friday the 13th was their lightning in a bottle. It was the perfect game for them. They were releasing updates, content, new Jasons, new survivors, new outfits, new DLC packs, new maps, and then the lawsuit hit, and I feel like the morale for them kind of hit a rock bottom. But I mean, now anymore, I'm just kind of speculating about what's going on over there, and that's not what this video is about. It's about the game, and the game is suffering, and I feel for the players, like I said, and for any developer of any video game company that has a license to a franchise that people love. Please, for the love of God, just respect the franchise, respect the fans, respect the characters. Please just make something good that people can enjoy and keep it alive. Keep it alive for people to come back to from years from now, because how many Texas Chainsaw games are out there that people can just, oh man, I'm just gonna load it up and play as Leatherface? I mean, you could do that in Dead by Daylight, but it's not the same. How many games can you play as Jason Voorhees? And now you're shutting it down. But guys, I think this is going to do it for me. Sorry I went on a little bit of a ramble, but I really am passionate about fans getting what they want out of a video game that they've been waiting on for so long. Because me personally, I was really excited for Texas Chainsaw, and now I don't even want to look at it anymore. But this is going to do it for me, guys. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you on the next one.